If you're thinking about upgrading to a riding mower, make a path to the Home Depot. Right now, the Poolin Pro 42-inch model's just $11.39. Its 19 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine will power through even the thickest grass, and its rugged reinforced steel cutting deck with 10-year warranty will keep you going and mowing for a very long time. The Poolin Pro 42-inch riding mower, just $11.39, now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only.
Some choices are hard, like should you choose McDonald's Buttermilk Crispy Tenders or the Buttermilk Crispy Chicken in our signature crafted recipe sandwiches? Well, guess what? You can't make a wrong choice. It's Buttermilk Love, and that's good news. Speaking of good news, now you can get McDonald's 2-piece Buttermilk Crispy Tenders for just $2 from their $1, $2, $3 menu. Cannot be combined with other offer or combo meal. Prices and participation may vary.
Welcome, everyone. I'm guest hosting for Aline tonight. I know, doesn't it sound so much more dainty tonight? Hello, everyone. How are you? She's listening. She's going to hurt me.
Feminine.
Yes, my feminine side will be out tonight. Look, you can't see, but the ponytail is down. If you catch on the video later, you'll see it anyway. But anyway, y'all are listening to United Public Radio out of the great city of New Orleans, along the Gulf Coast, across the planet in 160 countries. We're actually about 180 these days. I hope y'all enjoy everything that's going on. We offer you a lot of material these days. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a live YouTube feed now. Currently, it is running under the UFO Paranormal Radio feed, so go check it out over there. It's a lot of fun to watch. You get to watch the host. No telling what the host is going to do because it's live cam, and half of them forget they're on cam. So it makes for some interesting viewing sometimes, is all I'm saying. Actually, I'll be live on with y'all tonight, so if you want to come over to YouTube and hang out, I'm going to open it up on the other computer in a few minutes, and I'll post it to the Facebook so y'all can catch the live stream via Facebook as well. Also, too, we're going to be offering the Facebook streams pretty soon, too. I was talking with a couple of hosts in this. We're going to be talking about this at a meeting tomorrow, but we're going to also offer to be able to stream this through Facebook because we have a lot of fans on Facebook, and I hate not giving this to them since we're giving it to everybody else. So we're going to start streaming it through Facebook. Y'all will catch it there live. You'll be able to see all of our lovely hosts and all of our some of our more special-looking hosts. I'm not going to mention any names. Y'all can find that out for yourselves. But we do have a lot of interesting hosts on the network. And I got to say, we don't really have any ugly hosts. I was surprised. I got lucky. I mean, think about this, guys. We weren't doing video back in the day, so I wasn't really, hiring hosts based on their looks. We got lucky. Oh, it's one of them things. But anyway, Bernie's with us tonight. She's going to keep me out of trouble so Aline don't have to kill me because, Aline lives not far away from me, about 40 minutes, actually. So I don't want to drive over here tonight. Oh, Joe, how you doing, man? But anyway, I'm going to give it over to you, Bernie, so you can tell them who the guest is, and we'll chit-chat after that. Get in trouble.
Get in trouble. Well, tonight our guest is Jonathan McCoy. He's a paranormal investigator, paranormal and occult researcher, member of the House of Lore, the House of, I hope I say it right, Saja. I'll have to get him to clarify that. And the Vampire Court of New Orleans in the North American vampire community. Jonathan is the author of the newly released Paranormal Exposed, published through Dark Moon Press, and is currently penning his book that is centered around the occult. He has acted in television shows across multiple networks. His acting credits include NCIS, New Orleans, Claws, Preacher, the first as well as the new horror film, Jeepers Creepers 3. Jonathan is also a photographer, videographer, and cinematographer. So looking forward to talking to him. I also worked with him at Gulf Coast Paracon this past year.
Now that sounds fun. Now, right off the bat, Bernadine, why in the hell is everybody in these fields ADD? I mean, really, it's like none of us can just do one thing. It's like you got to have this career, we got to be doing this, we got to be looking at that, we got to be involved in this, and we got to be writing about this, and it just never seems to be enough for some reason.
I don't know. It's enough for me. That's a lot of work.
No, look, I'll tell you what, I can be a crybaby sometimes, man, because it gets crazy. A friend of mine says, well, you spend so much time. I said, well, and then he asked me why I don't spend more. I'm like, dude, I got to work for a living. I got house notes and car notes. I'm like every other American. I'm in debt, buddy.
Right.
So I got to pay that debt off. And I don't want to do it, at the expense of the people we're involved with or the research that we do or any of the people involved with any of the organizations we're affiliated with. So unfortunately, I got to work so we can support I guess I could call this a habit, a really,
It's
really
a
expensive
habit,
one.
but you love your habit.
Yes, this would be like a $500,000 cocaine habit or something. I'm
Whoa.
telling you, this is insane. I love all of this. I love meeting paranormal people. You know, being from New Orleans, you automatically, even from anywhere in the Gulf South, I'm not gonna lie, there's something just hauntedly weird about the Gulf South. A lot of history down here, a lot of haunted places all along the coast, all throughout the bayous. Pretty much every parishes I've been in has got their, ghost stories. I really don't think I've been in any parishes for that matter that don't have ghost stories.
Yeah, we're kind of born and bred into it, living here.
So I mean, you get used to it, and then I got into ufology, and I was learning about that, and then I started a UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is United Public Radio now. But I got to meet a lot of paranormal people. So man, I've got a 35-year education of just I don't know. It's insane how much stuff you can cram into a head. I guarantee you.
Well, if you had time, you could write a book.
Oh, Lord, I've tried. I've actually, and this is just sad, but anybody listening tonight that wants to make some money or wants to help out get a book, maybe go and split the fees or go on a tour. I've got 3 books outlined. I just can't write. I'm just not a writer. I'm not even going to pretend. Like some people can't sing. I can't even sing in the shower. So I'm not even going to lie about it. I got a lot of artistic people around me that are outstanding artists. Some are great singers. They got poets. I mean, they're just look. I'm lucky. Thank God I can get on the radio and talk. That's about the amount of my artistic abilities. It's just a sad state of affairs. Now, electronics I'm really good at, but let me ask you something. So you do a lot of paranormal research. So when you go, do y'all have just weird equipment things like the equipment just turns off or the generators just turn off or the lights? Well, I bet y'all have the lights just turn off, but I'm just curious because it seems to be something people who have experiences tend to have a lot of weird electronic and just strange weirdness that goes on in their house.
Well, spirits can manipulate electronics.
All right,
That's
spirit.
why, yeah.
Out. Stay away from the electronic. I'm going to put some Ghostbusters stuff in my computers. I'm warning y'all.
No gree on Joe tonight.
I was messing with some friends. I know a lot of, let's say, voodoo pieces, witches, whatever. They label whatever the cells are. They basically all believe in something or another. So she said, a friend of mine, I'm just going to put a spell. I said, no, you're not. She said, yes, no, you're not. I said, you can't even get to my house. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm completely surrounded by salt. I said, ain't nothing. I said, I'm surrounded by water and salt. I said, bring it on, baby. She's like,
salt water.
She said, are you serious? I said, my house is surrounded by flowing water. And I said, the place was completely inundated in salt after Katrina. I said, so there's about a 3-inch layer of salt just laying through all the dirt and all. I said, but yeah, if you want to come on. But man, you're going to burn. I'm just telling you, you're going to burn. This is the quietest house. I shouldn't jinx myself, but it is the quietest house I've ever lived in. I mean, as far as weird sounds or weird things going on, I've lived in some places that I was like, when the hell I'm going to move out of here? But this place is like, kind of quiet. I mean, it's quiet enough.
Eerily quiet.
Yeah, it's strange. But I didn't think about it. One of my witch friends was telling me, well, it got covered in salt water, Joe, and it probably got cleansed. I'm like, well, I can go for that too. I mean, it's only the house was built in. The house was built in '79 and then completely built from the ground back up in 2010 or something, 2011. So I mean, it's a really nice house. It's comfortable. I like it, and it's quiet. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want nothing coming and living here. Stay in New Orleans where you belong. So, question for you: where were you after Katrina? Were you in the bayou? Were you stayed out of state or?
No, I stayed here. I actually helped at the Cajun Dome in Lafayette, Louisiana. We had a lot of people come there from New Orleans on buses. They were displaced, and it was the Cajun Dome is huge in Lafayette.
I've been there. Another
it was
unspoken
full
hero.
Of people. Yeah, I work for the Red Cross and different people, whenever they're in need.
Yeah, well, people don't understand how many of us stayed around and volunteered and helped out
Mhm.
and did what we could, and it was a lot of stuff was going on. But the reason I asked was, in New Orleans, we were downtown about 3 days after Katrina. I went to go check on it was about 4 days actually. I went to go check on a property because we got a special pass to get back in. And when I got over there, I had three friends with me. Two of them had flown in. One had flown in from Canada. One had flown in from Washington State to come help out. We had a lot of people, by the way, listeners flying from around the country to help out. And anyway, we're standing there, and it was just like the weirdest, eeriest, strangest. Because growing up in New Orleans, the city is always something's going on. Sirens, shooting people, noisy people, cars, planes. There's just always
It's
something going
always
on.
active.
Yeah, it's a noisy, noisy place, and there's a lot of energy there. So if you're sensitive, you can feel it. There was nothing, nothing. I mean, you had to go, I guess, because of how it got flooded. You had to go into the old city itself to find anything, or up around St. Charles somewhere, something that didn't get deluged in salt water. It just seemed like it was just so weird. And two of these guys were very sensitive, and they weren't feeling anything either. It was almost like somebody had put you in a sensory deprivation tank, and you couldn't sense
Mhm.
anything anymore. It was a strange thing, man. I don't know, but I know it scared one of them enough that he went home. He went back to Cali.
It was
He
too
said, Joe,
quiet for him.
he said, Joe, I love you, but he said, this feels like death, man. I was like,
Well, yeah, kind of.
Sarah, did we see dead people? What do you mean? Oh, you mean doing after the storm? I don't know. I was all over the city and the metro areas, and I didn't see anybody tied to stop. I did hear that there were dead people tied to stop signs, but man, I'm tongue tied tonight. But I didn't personally see it. I don't want to tell you that I did. Or if I did, I blocked it out. I'm not gonna lie. If I did, I blocked it out. It's one of them things. It was a trying time. It was haunted. And the city's haunted. I'm telling y'all, if you don't believe in ghosts, just go down to New Orleans in the French Quarter, 3 o'clock in the morning. I guarantee you'll be a believer. About 4 o'clock actually. And the reason I say that is you could go maybe this time of year you could go like midnight, 1, 2 o'clock, because a quarter might be dead. But usually you need the quarter to quiet down so everything comes out. I've seen
Right.
crap in Pirates Alley that has made what little hair I had stand up on my head. It's weird down there.
I can actually feel it when I walk around a place that's really active. Yeah. Me and
You
my
know,
husband were down there. I can't remember what it was in the quarter. We had went for our honeymoon there, and we walked past this place, and I told my husband, I said that place right there is haunted. He's like, how do you know that? Like making fun of me because he didn't believe. So then one of these horse and buggy people that are doing a tour, they passed right on the side of us, pointing at the place, and this place is known to be haunted. I'm like, I
does
said,
it?
yeah, really, is it?
There's a lot of weird
I
places
can
down
feel
there.
it. Yeah, and some of the feelings are really
Creepy.
creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There's some. It's weird, and this is a weird kind of off track experience, but this was weird. My wife and I were going down to Florida. Actually, we were going down to Gulf Shores, Alabama, and I had my GPS on, which I rarely use, but I had it on. So I'm driving along and saying, "Go here, go here, go here." And I'm talking to my wife, and not really paying attention. So all of a sudden, I get this sense of like, man, red alert, your life's in danger. I'm like, what the hell? And my wife looks over and she got pretty much the same sense. And I'm like, what? And we notice I'm on a gravel road going down this road. And I'm kind of slowed down to about 30 miles an hour. I'm like, and the road looked like it was just going to go in between some homes and just kind of disappear. I just got to, I don't know. Nothing happened, ladies and gentlemen. I stopped the car and turned around.
You
Oh, yeah.
just
You
have
see,
that good feeling.
that's right. You know how they always, the stupid people walk into the haunted place in the movie? That's not Joe. Joe turned around and went the other way. Joe's like, nope, I'm out of here, people. I'm not. I mean, I've been in some scary places in New Orleans, and the cemeteries I've talked about with John, a couple other places, and
Mhm.
it's we've been so busy. I wanted to work with the people with dinners with the ghosts, but we haven't had 5 free minutes to even talk to them. It's but there's so many haunted places to go hang out at. If you're not a believer, there's a lot of places you can go down here. I can't guarantee you 100%, but I'd say 88% chance you're going to see something.
And it's so active in New Orleans with the lights and the sounds and the people and the drunk people, especially in the quarter. Anytime we did investigations there in a place closed with the windows sealed shut, there's no way for sound to get in, but it's so loud there. That's what we hear on our recorders is the music on the outside of the walls.
Yeah, you pick it up. If you've got even a remotely sensitive mic, you're picking up all kind of crap out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much ambient noise in the quarter that it's kind of ridiculous. That's why I said, for most people, if you want to really have a good experience, it's got to be in the wee hours when this quarter is real quiet, in a off time of year, early in the morning, everybody's going to bed, nothing's going on. There's not even any trucks riding. I've been in a quarter, literally, people, where I didn't even see anybody but me. It was just, and that's really creepy, by the way. But there's times you can get there, and right now, actually, it's better because growing up, New Orleans actually had more people than it has right now. It's short a couple of 100,000 people right now, so it's kind of a time.
That could be due to the murders, yeah.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't live in the city.
No,
even though I think it's a beautiful place, I wouldn't live there. I'd live in a metro area. I mean, I don't live in a metro anymore. I live on the coast now, but I like the bayou, people. The bayou's better.
Yeah.
You live in a bayou. Don't you like the bayou?
Yeah, I like the bayou. I actually live in the country, but
country too.
Well, I can't live like too far from Walmart. I have to live kind of close to Walmart. That's where I spend all my husband's money.
Oh Lord, poor man. Stay away. Walmart evil. Walmart is evil. There ain't no country in Louisiana.
Well, we call it country when it's not in town. That's what we call country. Okay.
Well, because I'm just saying, ain't much in the way. Most of us don't consider it country until you get up. Well, hell, at least halfway up the state. I don't know. It's something to do with attitude. Don't ask me, people. It's something. I don't know how to explain it. But for the locals and everybody out there, there's this weird thing about, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a weird thing. One of these days when I got some of my Couillon friends on, we'll talk about it. And no, it's not an insult or a slight calling them Couillon. They're city country Cajun.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it.
We call our children that, so it's not like a curse word or anything.
It's not. No, people sometimes don't understand that, but
kind of like calling them a doofus or something like that.
Yeah, because it is. It's kind of like that, But everybody I meet in Louisiana is pretty laid back, easygoing kind of people. Not like other places I've been where they're kind of irritated all the time and angry and mad. I gotta say, when I'm traveling around the state, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, even Florida. For the most part, when I'm traveling around the states, either lecturing or just out doing stuff. Sometimes that's sky watching or out on investigations. The people are nice. They're laid back. Now, downtown New Orleans, I'm not going to lie to you. They're just rude. Unless you're a tourist. And let me tell you what, the locals know if you're a tourist or not, so I don't think you're fooling them. Unless you're a tourist, they're just rude. They're like, don't bother me. Go away. You're a local. We don't care about you. It's pretty much how it is. I just want to warn y'all, people. So don't try to act like a local. Take advantage of the tourist thing, and they'll treat you better. Hang on to your wallet, but they'll treat you better. I know. Oh, I got to go get the guest on, don't I? I'm yapping away like we ain't got nothing going on here. We're gonna beam up to Mars here, people, and come back in a decade or so. And where did it go now, people? I'm losing my mind. See what happens when you get old? Oh, Lord. Your brain just goes. It's one of them things that goes away. All right, dialing, I hope. I still got to get used to this video thing. It always messes me up when we're doing calls. And I'm usually in the background, so I'm messing around when I'm calling for Aline and Bernadette. Aline, what are you doing? I feel some psychic thing on my brain right now. Hello, we got you?
Yes, you.
Hello, Bernadine. There we go. We got him.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hello, how are you?
How you doing?
Doing all right. Just staying busy.
Staying busy. I see that with your bio. I actually read your bio a few minutes ago. Well, when we came on, so our listeners could know who we were having as a guest. So with your bio, can you explain to us a little bit about each of the? You're into a lot of things, I see. Can you explain to us a little of each, like how you became into the paranormal investigator field and then the vampire court, House of Lore? Like people that are not from here or New Orleans don't know what these things are, like the House of Lore. And I couldn't say that name. Is it Saza?
Shahaza.
I knew I would mess that up. Yeah, just explain to us what these things are so they would know, the listeners will know a little bit more about you.
Well, when I was 6 years old, that's when I actually had my first paranormal experience. And it was me witnessing the apparition of my grandfather. And everyone was saying that he died and gone to heaven, but that wasn't explaining to me why I kept on seeing him in my room, watching over me and my little brother. Well, most kids would get completely freaked out by this. Me, I ran to it because I was curious and I wanted to know more. So I started reading books from Ed and Lorraine Warren. I started researching what ghost was. That's when I found the occult. So just various different things. And then by the time I was about 10 years old, I was actually working on my first investigation. It was a cemetery investigation in Carson City, Nevada. Nothing real major, but hey, I was out there, I was investigating, and by the time I was 16, that's when I actually discovered that there were paranormal reality shows. So I'm like, hey, I'm not the only person in the world who does this. So I've been investigating and researching basically almost my entire life. When it comes to the occult, I think the first book I ever read was The Power of Truth. What was it? It was one of Aleister Crowley's books. I didn't understand it whatsoever at all. I'm like, this is not making sense. But when I reread it a couple years later, it made a little bit more sense to me. And the occult has always been a very fond fascination of mine, which led me to discovering the vampire community. And when I was younger, it was mostly like online stuff. There was one person in particular that I followed off and on, and it showed me that there was a very different world out there. And I grew up in the Bible Belt of Louisiana, so not a lot of people like me out there around here. And so it wasn't up until recently that I actually got involved actively with the North American vampire community. And the first house that I got involved with is House of Lore. The founder of the House of Lore is now also the king of the vampire court of New Orleans, Maven Lore I. And the House of Shahaza, that house founder is Rosemary Delane, and she actually created the vampire community back in 1976, I believe. So a lot of history that goes into the vampire community. Now, when people think of the word vampire, they think of Strigoi, they think of Dracula, they think of blood-sucking fiends. Well, to us, being a vampire is more of an archetype. We develop ourselves in the image of the vampire. Seduction, power, influence, and it's actually a very strong symbol. And way back in the day, the 1500s, the 1600s, if you were thought to be a Strigoi, they'd chop your head off before you were buried to prevent you from coming back and wreaking havoc in your village. And there was actually a recent issue with this in Romania, and this was actually featured on Josh Gates's Expedition Unknown. So there's a very real fear of vampires. Well, thanks to Bram Stoker's Dracula being written in the 1800s, and the first film adaptation for it called Nosferatu, vampires started to take leaps and bounds into modern pop culture. So we are a symbol that's been kind of changed throughout generations. We don't view ourselves as monsters. We view ourselves as humans. We just play make believe with things every once in a while.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I've been to Anne Rice Ball and the Vampire Balls in New Orleans for Halloween, and I got to witness a lot of, you know, people that have the fangs and things, and the dress and the music. I really do like I call it the vampire music. I don't know what it's actually called, but we had a guy on here. It was a couple of years ago, or in 2016, Balthazar Ashaniston, if I'm saying it right. Have you heard of him?
Yeah,
he's in New Orleans, and he spoke a lot about
he runs Voodoo Authentica.
Yeah, and he spoke a lot about that. And I was telling him that I heard about a nightclub in New Orleans that they have specific drinks for vampires, like blood shots and things like that. Have you heard of this place?
He's actually he's speaking of potions. It's a vampire speakeasy that is above Fritzl's on Bourbon Street.
Oh.
All you got to do is walk in and tell the hostess that the vampire sent me, and they will take you upstairs. You pay your cover, and then all of a sudden you are transported back to Victorian era goth and vampire.
Well, awesome. You heard of that, Joe?
That sounds interesting. Well, you know, in the old days, there used to be a place in the dungeon where a lot of them used to meet. So I was wondering where everybody went off to, because I haven't been in a quarter in a while. Too much work and not enough having fun, to be honest with you. But no, I mean, there was a couple of groups that used to meet. When I first found out about them, oh God, we're talking 25 years ago. And I had found out about a group that used to meet in a dungeon on a regular basis. Now, they were probably in between what we're talking about right now and something a little bit earlier. They were, I guess we would say they were finding their way, might be a better way of describing it. But it was very interesting to watch them. Personally, I wasn't that interested in it because it was too consuming at the time. I just had too much other going on in my life. But I got to say, I met a lot of interesting people and learned a lot of interesting things over the years by knowing them. But, you know, vampires kind of make me get a little nervous anyway sometimes, especially after Anne Rice with that stuff. They like to, how did she say it that night at the party she was talking about? I think it was out of her book, actually, about they like to go on Bourbon Street or catch you back on Royal or somewhere and have a sip to see whatever you happen to be on that night. I always thought that was like, wait a minute, now I like the quarter, people. Don't be telling me stuff like that. I don't even be thinking about no vampires biting on me while I'm walking around the quarter. But it's a strange feeling for me just to know these groups are you know, starting to blossom and move forward. I don't even know what to think about it, because if I think about it from the paranormal side of me or the research side of me, I find it very fascinating. If I think about it as an ordinary citizen, it kind of weirds me out a little bit. Should I be weirded out?
Not at all. We actually embrace our carnal desires. We embrace that beast that's within each and every one of us. With what I said earlier, we are humans. All right. There are some sects of vampires that consume blood. That's not us. All right. There are some that consume energy. There's some that use sex to do what we call feeding. So it's not the bloody gore fest that you would see in Bram Stoker's Dracula. We don't turn into bats. We don't turn into wolves. We don't look for virgins to drink their blood. We just embody the vampire as part of our everyday lives. Now, when the community was first getting started, you know, everything was quite secretive. because you got to think this is back in the 70s and 80s. Well, it's the new age now, so things are a little bit more open-minded, and when we actually get a lot with people not understanding who we are, what we do. So, but we're not a LARP group. We don't just meet once a month and roll dice on a table. We're an actual community. We do actual community events. Some of us feed the homeless. There's actually people in the vampire community that range from everyday people to paranormal investigators. And I'm actually not the only vampire paranormal investigator in the paranormal community. There's actually quite a few of them. We have our law enforcement. We have cops that.
Can I ask you something? Well, I want to ask you something right quick because I don't want to get too far away before I ask you. But I was thinking when you were talking, because you sound quite passionate about this. What was it? What was it that kind of drew you in or brought you here or where? Let me ask you this: how did you get from every day to here? Is what I'm trying to figure out. What was it that tantalized you? I guess is what I'm trying to find out. Because every researcher I've ever met had something, some driving force, something that pushed them, pulled them, tossed them, whatever you want to say. So I'm just kind of curious. And and if it's something personal, you don't have to answer. I don't want to put you on a spot, but it's just something I'm always been curious about.
For me, it was always something that fascinated me. It was always something that I felt very at home with. And, I went through my whole goth phase when I was a teenager, but I'm not goth. I've got a darker personality. I find the beauty in darkness. I don't find it macabre or weird or scary. It's normal for me. And with everything that I experienced growing up in the paranormal and investigating and reading books from Edward Warren, reading books from Aleister Crowley, and researching modern day Wicca from Gerald Gardner, looking into John Dee, I always found that there were very different things about life that I was exploring at a very young age. Kids at 6 years old, they're playing with Play-Doh, they're drawing coloring books, they're playing video games. Me, I was reading Book of Lies and books about John Dee and books from Ed and Lorraine Warren. So I was an normal kid to begin with. And I always felt drawn to the dark side. And it led me to research things like the Church of Satan, things like paganism, things like alternate religions. So it's always been a very curious nature of mine to actually want to research this. And then I found that I wasn't the only one. And that's when I started getting involved with the online communities.
Isn't that nice though when you found you weren't the only one?
Because growing up in Ruston, Louisiana, I was the only person like me. Yeah. And there were like other goth kids, but they weren't at the level that I was at, and it was very, very hard to relate to anybody. So I was very withdrawn. I was very closed off to people. I had religion forced down my throat. So I'm like, what's going on here? I'm just me. Why am I so different from you or anybody else? But when I found the online communities, I kind of was able to go, oh, okay. So this is a real thing. This isn't just in my head. And it wasn't up until Halloween when I got involved with House of War, and I actually was the photographer for an event in New Orleans called the Bloodlust Vampire Ball, where various monarchs and dignitaries throughout the North American vampire community were there. I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
That sounds interesting in itself.
Yeah. So you don't feel it has anything to do, well, maybe some of the vampire community may feel different about blood, because I myself will get an extra rare steak. I love the taste of blood. I'm not going to go and bite anybody, but I could be a cannibal, I guess, if I wanted to be.
I can't say I've never bitten anyone before, but I like a good rare steak myself, and I have been known to bite from time to time. But I gotta say, to me, it's fascinating because I've always been fascinated with vampires anyway, and being from New Orleans because it's part of our culture makes it even more fascinating. And then now we've had people write just literally hundreds of stories about vampires in New Orleans, and every now and then you see something down there that you got to kind of stop and wonder if it's just a figment of your imagination or if it's something else. Yeah, but I just find the culture to be more interesting because the way he makes it, way you make it sound, I should say, is it's kind of a mix of a much deeper, richer culture, even stemming like from the past, drawing forward.
Turn it down.
So I was kind of like that kind of intrigues me itself because when you were describing that one about stepping into Victoria, I got to thinking about it. All of that has to be intriguing, and in some ways, it even has to be. How can I say this? Like it wraps around you, embraces you. I've been tongue tied all night, and I apologize for that, guys. I don't know what's up with that, but it just seems like it's something that it just seems like it makes it richer, deeper, realer. I guess is what I was looking for there. Sorry.
It is. It's a very rich culture, and we're also a very tight knit community. And there's actually a process that you undergo. Like it's just like joining like something like the Freemasons. You become an entry level vampire, and you learn and you grow, and maybe one day you'll work your way up. And it's not, we don't do what we do for notoriety or fame or fortune. We do it because it's something that we feel inside of us. And during events,
I can understand
we give the utmost respect to everybody. Everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you come respectful, you are responsible. You don't degrade anybody. Everybody is welcome. Now, I don't know if I can cuss or not, but
you're all right tonight.
The biggest thing in our community is don't be an asshole, don't be a douche. That's it.
Yeah, them kind of words won't get you in trouble anyway. But well, I can understand it. I work with a lot of groups in a lot of different areas, from contactees to people working in paranormal for different ghost groups and stuff. And it's interesting to me because they form these families, these bonds. And there's a real need for this. And thank God for the internet, because they wouldn't find each other without them. If I had $1 for every time somebody told me, oh, I found these people through the internet and made a connection, I mean a real connection, not a BS connection, I could be retired. I'd be sitting in my house throwing money around at people. It's strange to hear it. It's not as strange for me anymore because I've heard it a lot, but for a lot of people it is. It's a connection out there. There's some way everybody's being drawn for these particular different groups. And I'm not even sure why. I don't want to even try to guess what may be going on.
Maybe it's like-minded people.
Well, I'm sure it is. I mean, that's what it is. You
find that group of like-minded people.
And I agree that's a good chunk of it, but because they become so tight-knit, it makes me feel like there's something else, something drawing them, some kind of kindredship. I don't know. It's just one of those things, but I've talked to enough of them to know that there's something else there. And by the way, if anybody starts writing in, I don't mean anything evil or anything mischievous. I just mean there seems to be maybe they're empathic. Maybe they're connecting across an empathic. I notice a lot of people who are have heightened awarenesses tend to be empathic. So that might be what it is. It might be bonding across it even on a subconscious level. But it's fascinating. I mean, it really is. And the thing of it is, and I've always said this, because people ask me all the time about what should I be doing this and that. If it makes you feel as snug as a bug in a rug, then that's what you should be doing.
And if you're not hurting anybody else.
That's right. Yeah, don't hurt anybody, people. No, we don't be advocating that kind of stuff. And even though we're from New Orleans, well, I'm from New Orleans, and I don't want to curse out people, but actually, we got a Louisiana trio on tonight. That's a rare thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question, Jonathan.
All right.
We have a place down here that opens up one day a month at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and it's a slaughterhouse. And at that slaughterhouse, people that drink blood, not human blood, animal blood, go to the slaughterhouse and they get bags of blood, and they're like a vampire community underground because we don't know where they are. But I know the people at the slaughterhouse, and also the person that told me about this reads their cards for them. So it's a real thing. Do you have any of that type of thing in New Orleans that you know of?
I don't know if we do or not. There are other groups in New Orleans that we don't associate with because we don't agree with their philosophies. And something like that, that's not unheard of, but that's not us. No.
The only human bloodsucker group I've heard of lately is out of Lafayette, Lake Charles. Actually, I'm sorry.
That's close to me. Well, maybe that's.
But that's the lead. That's the I got family around there too. But it's that's I haven't heard anything locally in New Orleans lately. But I don't pay as much attention as I used to. So I don't want to say there's nobody there. I wouldn't feel right about that. New Orleans is a city that's easy to hide stuff in. It's already so.
So what is the blood that people drink? Is it cow or pig, or what is the animal blood that they drink?
Well, it really depends.
I guess the safest one is what I'm asking. The safest blood to drink if you were to drink blood.
Me personally, I don't drink blood. I stay away from it.
I'm with him.
But
a lot of contamination.
There are people though. There are people in the vampire community though that do consume animal and human blood. They're called sanguinarians. Now, if they're doing human blood, they're not killing the person. The person that they are drinking from has to consent. They get blood work done to make sure that they don't have any bloodborne pathogens like any STDs. So it's like screening for if you're looking for an ideal sex partner. But the thing about the blood drinking is actually illegal. So we don't really talk about it. We don't do it. We just
smart thing.
Stay away from it for the most part.
So that club you were talking about upstairs, do they? I mean, I've heard that they have blood shots and blood in the food they make and things like that for the specific vampire community that does drink blood. Do they get this from animals?
It's artificial. That's artificial. It's like the frosting on the cake. It's the syrup.
Oh, really?
Food coloring. Yeah,
it's
artificial. They can't actually legally put raw animal blood on something because then the health department would be shutting them down.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things you hear may or may not be true, and that's actually a big problem in our community because we have what actually happens. Then we have people who hear a rumor, and then that rumor explodes to astronomical levels.
Mm-hmm.
So when people hear the word vampire, they're not going to see what we actually do. They're going to see what they hear. They're going to see only what they hear on the news, on the radio, or word of mouth.
Kind of like the paranormal field.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. And actually, the best thing that I can compare this to is actually the satanic panic that went on from the 1960s. That's actually still going on right now. When Anton LaVey come out with the Satanic Bible and the founding of the Church of Satan. Well, they're atheists, so they don't believe in the devil. They don't worship the devil. They don't human sacrifice. They don't kill animals. They're actually a lot of Satanists that I know are vegans. They want nothing to do with the slaughter of innocent animals or humans. They don't believe in abuse. They don't believe in any of that. However, when people hear the word Satanist, their mind is automatically going to run to satanic rituals, people being abducted and murdered, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. There was actually a lot of uprising in the 80s and the 90s where people were coming up missing from daycares, and they automatically blamed the Satanists. Well, Peter Gilmore, the new high priest of the Church of Satan, has done everything he can to try and squash those rumors. And then you get people like the Satanic Temple who want to erect a statue of Baphomet at the Oklahoma State Capitol building, and then unveiled the statue in Detroit. during 2 attempts. That's a totally different or organization from what the Church of Satan is. So what the Church of Satan does is they use the devil as the embodiment of what they believe, which is nothing. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in the devil. It's aesthetic for them. And for them, devil is the word for adversary. And frankly, a lot of them just like pissing off Christians. They don't mean any ill will by it, but they're doing their thing. No one's getting hurt. They're expressing themselves in a different form. And in the world today, people don't actually like that. So.
Yeah, in the time of Anton LaVey, weren't they doing animal sacrifices and using the blood for rituals and things?
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
That is total myth and total horsepuck.
Yeah, I mean, I've never read his, the book about him or anything like that. I was just asking because you hear a lot of things about him.
Well, there's a lot of rumors that went on about Anton LaVey, and I assure you, most of them, if not all of them, are false.
Most of them.
Anton LaVey just had a very.
No, I was just laughing when you said that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It was funny the way you said it.
He had a very different way of looking at the world. He looked at the hypocrisy in people. He was a piano player at his local carnival, and he would see how the minister was preaching the word of God, but then later he was seen hitting on women, going to the bearded lady exhibit, and
do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. That's the mentality that he was really pointing out, and he looked at the devil from not a theistic perspective, but more of a symbol. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a very distinct difference between a Levian Satanist, which is what the Church of Satan is, and then your theological, or what we call Luciferians. Your Luciferians, however, are the ones that go out and do all of that stuff. So,
yes,
so just like in the vampire community.
Well, I just said I had actually studied in the dark arts. It was very interesting when you were talking about Crowley earlier too, because in the early days, when we first got into all this, my wife actually studied. Well, I guess Wiccan would be a better way of calling it, because you're studying with Gavin and Yvonne, a few others besides that. But I actually picked up my studies from what we would consider Aleister Crowley's illegitimate son. But it's interesting because they actually believed in some things that you don't really hear him talk about, besides all the sex magic and all the other stuff that they were doing. They actually had an inside lore about vampires. And they considered there was some type of energy or some type of way. I don't know if they were talking about through purity of thought. It wasn't purity of blood, I can tell you that. But there was some kind of way they figured they could achieve an almost vampire state with actually adding eternal life to them. As far as I know, no one's ever achieved it. But there was something you had just said that made me think about. I don't know why it just popped in my head right when you said that. So I apologize for interrupting you. But I don't like. I got to get the thought out while it's in my head, or I'll forget about it. And one other thing, and I'm gonna let you go back to what you were saying. A lady her name Irene just wrote in from Boise and wanted to know if there's any way, if any groups around there, or any groups are in any major cities near her where she might be able. She says she has a draw for it, so I just dropped 2 of them. Sorry about that.
In Idaho?
Yeah, Boise. So I've never been to Boise.
Idaho.
So
actually, yes.
Oh hell, there you go.
She can look up David Erlab. He is the king of the court of Calderasha out of Idaho.
Gee. Well, she said thank you. Well, that's cool. There you go. Look, I like that kind of stuff. That's gratification, satisfaction going on at the same time there. But it is interesting how there seems to be a tie to a lot of this. And it's interesting that at such a young age you had an interest in Crowley, because I did myself. And I got to say, there's a how can I say this? I don't want to offend anybody listening tonight. When it comes to Crowley, I don't know if it's a certain mindset or a certain type of person, but there's only, out of everybody I meet, there only seems to be a very rare few that can actually even kind of get a lot of the concepts he was trying to put across, because not everything he talked about was in the magic realm. A lot of what he talked about was in the practical realm. And I noticed a lot of people missed that, but you seem to have caught it at a young age. I got to give you a thumbs up, man, because he wasn't exactly the easiest guy to understand. I mean, a lot of what he did was kind of cryptic. And so it's just nice to see people jumping into it like that. It's interesting that you did that and then moved into where you were. I can only wonder where you're going to be, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And I'm sorry, Jesse. Do you want to know what? Oh, is there vampire communities all over the country? I think you said that earlier, didn't you, Jonathan? Or did I misunderstand?
Yes, we're all members of the North American vampire community. So in most states, we do have a court. I'm just not really for certain which one specifically, because we have so many of them.
Well, we're not going.
However, if people want to connect with me on Facebook, I can probably point them in the right direction.
There you go. Facebook's another great tool, by the way.
Yeah.
Twitter. I love all of them.
We have another question from a guest in the chat room. It's Mountaineer is the name. Asks, too much iron consumption can cause health issues and death. Did the guest say how much do they drink at one time? I guess she's speaking about the vampire community parts that actually do drink blood.
I don't know how much one person to the next consumes. I strongly urge people to not do it for health reasons, because death kind of sucks.
Health issues and death kind of sucks.
It's one thing if you're coming back. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, if people want to die, I guess we can make contact with them via EVP, but I'd rather not.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man.
But let's just say a PSA: don't drink blood.
Ooh, we having some background noise.
Did you hear that?
That was weird.
That was weird. What the hell was that? We got to mark the time. Oh, it's straight up 10 o'clock, too. Look at that. Hold on. Let me write this down. That was, I don't know who's out there listening. If y'all heard that tonight, want somebody to write in and let me know. That was kind of.
Yeah, sometime we get an EVP type thing on live radio.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what that was. That was strange. Did you hear that, Jonathan? I don't know if you heard it or not. That was strange.
No, I didn't.
I heard it on my end.
Well, it'll be marked on the tape, so we'll go back and take a listen. I couldn't even. I don't even know what it was. It was just like I don't know how to explain it, like a wave of sound or something. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
Jonathan,
short.
I want to switch to the paranormal side of things. Whenever we had me and Jonathan were leads of an investigation group for the Beauvoir in Mississippi for Gulf Coast Paracon. And I do have the EVPs, which me and Eileen couldn't figure out how to get them to play on air, which one day I guess we could. Do you remember that EVP we had while we were standing by the coach in the museum? You went around and
I do.
You asked everybody to ask a question. And when it got to me, instead of me saying, "Is your dog lucky?" I asked a question. No, that's what I asked. Because some people would say, "Is your dog named Lucky?" I said, "Is your dog lucky?" And we actually got an EVP that said no. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's actually one of the...
Oh, no, I was just going to ask you, y'all ever getting any EVPs that says get them out, since I can't say that word on air. Because, man, look, I'm telling y'all, if I'm walking through a house and I'm hearing something and it's talking back to me, y'all on y'all saying, I'm leaving. I'm out of here, people. I'll go chase aliens all night long. I'll leave the Ghostbusting to y'all. I'm just telling you. Oh, man. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jonathan. Go ahead, man.
Oh, no problem at all. One of my biggest investigation styles is I like to get into the culture of where these spirits come from. And sometimes that culture is controversial. Sometimes that culture is deemed hateful. But if we're gonna understand the spirit that comes from that culture, sometimes we kind of got to get on their level. And you're not really gonna know who you're talking to. So that's why I use that the question circle like that is everybody can ask a random question. It has nothing to do with like certain set talking points or whatever. It's just a random silly question to see if we can get a response from those silly questions, and then see if we can actually develop a more serious structure off of that question. And I've also discovered that if you actually do things that would actually appease the spirit, like with what I do at the tomb of the unknown soldier at the Beauvoir, I play taps. I read the inscription from the poet priest. That's
You
actually
did that
on
in the
on tomb
graveyard,
itself.
right?
Yes, we did. And I call everybody to attention. Sorry, my apologies. I introduce myself, and I talk about what I myself did in the military, and I let the spirits know that you're among good people. You're among people who understand you. And sometimes that brings out some really fantastic activity. Sometimes it doesn't. And the first time I actually did it, there was a lady that was part of our group, and she felt one of her ears get really, really hot. So we spot checked her ear, and her ear was 10 degrees hotter than her other one. And she felt like the spirit was just like latching onto her. And everywhere we went in the cemetery, she had this feeling that the spirit was just like hugging her or just somehow latched onto her. Well, it freaked her out a good bit. So I told her, address the spirit, say, stay here. Do not follow me. You're not coming home with me. Stay put. And then we went back to the tomb, and I put everybody at ease. Return to your barracks. The duty day is over, that sort of thing, and all of her feelings stopped. And then the next time I went there and I did it, we got no responses. So it really depends on their mood.
Yeah, and in the guest house, we also got good EVP from the Frank's box. Remember the taps? Was it taps?
Mm-hmm.
And whistling?
Yep.
We actually got a whistling of a tune that kept on and on and on and on.
Yeah. And I was actually hanging out with one of the people that was in there with us, and then we got that same whistling on her SB11, and we were 2 miles away from the Beauvoir.
Wow.
And it was the same whistling, the same tune.
And what was that tune? Was it Yankee Doodle Dandy or something like that?
I think it was, yeah. And if it happened for one device, we can chalk it up to, it could have just been radio interference. But to hear the same song over an hour later, 2 miles away, something's going on.
Right. We had some pretty good activity there.
Yes, we did. And I'm not a real big advocate for the PSB-11. I think it's just a giant paperweight. But that was the first time that I got a piece of evidence from it that I actually use during my demonstrations or talks, because that was remarkable.
Mm.
Yeah. You got some questions, Joe?
I was just thinking anytime you get good research is a damn good thing, is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Because you see such scary. But still, I'll ask both y'all this, by the way. When you go in places, it's, we're talking about down here in the South. So when you go in places, do you ever get the sense that, there's, I don't want to say pending harm, but a negative energy is not the right either, but that they're not exactly happy to see you, or maybe that's not right either. Maybe it's more like they acknowledge the fact that you're there, but they're not really interested in you. I don't know how else to say it. I'm just curious because, I mean, I do a lot of stuff, but this is something that y'all do way more than I do.
Well, the biggest thing to remember, ghosts, spirits, they were once people. So you probably just caught them at a bad time. Maybe you caught them before their morning cup of coffee. You know, as you are in death is as you were in life. So
That makes sense.
If all your characters, yeah. So if your personality is carrying over with you, and if you were a sour person in life, well, you're going to be the same way in death. And that kind of transition as well probably messes with a few people's minds. So if people don't have a religious value, or they believe they're going to heaven and they actually don't, that's gotta mess with them a little bit.
Or they don't know that they're dead.
Limbo.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they've been held in this sort of limbo for God knows how long. If think about it like this. How long do you think, being alive, can you stay locked up in your bedroom with no phone, no computer, not a book, nothing? Just basically put yourself in a jail cell, right? Except in jail, you can get out for an hour a day, full rec time, but you're locked in this cell indefinitely. You wouldn't be a happy camper within a week if you even lasted that long. Me personally, I can't stay in a room for longer than an hour before I'm walking around and doing something. I've got ADHD. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, we were talking about that at the beginning of the show. I said, how come all paranormal investigators and ufology people I always meet are ADD? I'm like, it's like a prerequisite or something. I hate to say it, but it really feels like that.
So, if you're taking all these people, right, and they're, we don't know if these.
Oh, did we lose you?
Jonathan?
I think we lost you.
I think we lost him.
Hello?
Oh, there you go.
No,
we got you back. We lost you there for a minute. I don't know what happened. Something got you, man, but apparently you're back. So that was we get a little weird stuff going on here, ladies and gentlemen.
We don't know if these entities, these spirits, can leave these spots. We don't know if they have a break room that they go to, and if they just haunt on shifts like they do in Monsters Inc. We don't know what's going on. Okay, so all we can do is really assume, but we're still dealing with people, and a lot of people they really love the idea of doing demonic investigations. Well,
I don't.
Cases,
I do not.
Yeah. Per demonology, a demon is something that was never intended to be a part of the living world, never was part of the living world, but is somehow here. That's a demon. It doesn't have to be Christian. It doesn't even have to be theological. You also got your elementals and your spirits and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So when people in life, they don't understand the difference. So how do you think how do you think we as a person or people interact with that sort of thing when we cross over, if we cross over? So there's a lot that's going on with it, and with a demonic case, how do you know if you're just not dealing with someone who is a psychopath?
Yeah,
or someone who has bipolar disorder.
That would be me.
Because I have an ex that if I wouldn't have ducked at one point in time, I would have gotten hit in the head with those old Nokia phones.
Oh.
And had to dodge stuff real quick. But if she was to haunt a place, that same sort of thing could happen. She gets triggered, something goes flying. How do we know that's not what's going on with these poltergeist cases?
I have actual EVPs that I have one. We were all women in the room, and it's a man's voice, and he says, "You keep calling me," and screaming at us. I have actual EVPs of spirits screaming, cursing, saying "F you," and just it's still unexplainable, you know. And when people hear it, they say, oh, that's fake, you did that. No, I mean, us as researchers, I can't say every team is the same, because they're not. Some people are in it for different reasons, but people that are dedicated like we are to the field, and we spend hours and hours and hours and hours on doing our analyzing. And when we find evidence like this, I mean, it's kind of exciting because we found it. But to show it to other people and let them listen to it, a dedicated skeptic will always say something's wrong with it, it's not real. But how can we prove it's real? Because they weren't there, you know? So it's kind of like a wishy-washy thing.
They prove that it wasn't?
It's not. That's right.
How can they prove it?
They can't prove it's not real.
No,
It's always going to be an argument there, you know? And you know what's bad
is... bear this in mind, too. Let's bear this big thing in mind, too. We've proven that the Earth is round.
Right.
We've proven
Thank
with the
God.
International Space Station that the Earth spins. We've proven that we have an Earth and moon and various other planets in the solar system. And we have people who still think the Earth is flat. So half the time we're just arguing with the fence post. It's just like this video of the kid going around with a lemon and a glass of water, and he says, "Oh, look, NASA, checkmate." We have people like that. So no matter what logic we spit, there's still going to be people
So we're actually doing it for ourselves and those who are interested in what we do.
Yeah.
That's what I do it
and
for.
Then we have those.
Good.
Then we still have those select few who think it's a good idea to eat a Tide Pod. So I mean, it's just what we live in.
Yeah, I guess, Joe, you have to go through that too. When you're on a panel speaking about the UFOs, the people in the front row are always going to be the ones that are the skeptics that are going to call you out and try to prove everything that you have proven.
Skeptics hate me. They just, in the early days, because, I'm one of the people in the field that speaks with confidence, it upsets them. So in the early days, I just, instead of waiting for them to come out, I just took them all on. So now they just leave me alone. Like the bad astronomer, they don't even want to talk to me anymore. They're like, oh no. Because I tell them all the time, if you're going to come after me for any subject, you better done your homework. I don't care what it is. I mean, I'm well educated on a lot of this. So I said, you better, go ahead, get a good long lunch, take a couple of days studying. But you better have a couple of years in it at least, because you're going to get eaten alive. It's just people want to get vicious and nasty for no reason, and it's not about, and I tell people all the time, you don't have to believe me. And I said, look, I'm up here speaking for whatever I happen to be speaking on a day. And I'm like, look, people, you don't have to take my words. You don't have to believe me. I said, first off, you should always do your own homework and check out every researcher that says anything. I said, that way, at least you got a good idea about their character and if they're reasonably insane, or reasonably sane, I should say, or telling you, giving you good information. I said, but do your homework. And I said, on top of that, you don't have to follow blindly, people. I said, you're going to follow people right off the cliff? I said, oh, have your own mind. I said, but don't be closed-minded, because if you're one of those closed-minded skeptics, I'm going to tear you up. I'm not even going to put up with it. It's just, before you know it even hits you, you're going to be like, oh my God, let me get out of here. Because I don't put up with closed-minded people. Look, there's a lot of stuff I put up with in life, but closed-minded people, that's a sign of ignorance to me. So like I said, you don't have to believe me. You can tell me right then and there, well, I don't believe anything. That's fine. But at least you took the time to listen, and you didn't rule it out just because it was whatever it was. So, but the people who do, oh no, screw that.
Some people are afraid of what they don't understand.
Yeah, they are.
Absolutely.
And there's shit you should be scared of out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. There is things out there you should be scared of. But, when you get that spider tingly sense going off, pay attention to it. It's because it's usually trying to tell you something. Oh, Lord.
In my book, Paranormal Exposed, I actually talk a lot about how people have used fear to control. And books like the Malleus Maleficarum, that was basically the instigator for millions of people, specifically women, that were burned at the stake for nothing more than just being different. You could have been burned at the stake just for Exactly. And Heinrich Kramer, in all of his infinite wisdom, decided to write the Malleus Maleficarum after he was rejected by a woman or got his heart broken, one of the two, and then wrote the Witch's Hammer to punish. So that's exactly what Adolf Hitler did with Mein Kampf after he got denied entry into the Berlin Art Institute. He took his aggression out on the Jewish population, which is exactly what Heinrich Kramer did with women with the Malleus Maleficarum. And I talk about that in Paranormal Exposed. And also with talking about aliens, I go into a chapter where I'm talking about the dimensions, first through the fifth, with points, lines, planes, through redimensional time, and the infinity of the world, the cosmos. And I bring up the scene from Interstellar. I don't know if anybody in the audience has not watched it, but they do a very accurate interpretation of what they believed was the fifth dimension. So if time is not linear, like we perceive it to be, and it's always spiraling, and we're now able to travel space and time in spaceships, going to Mars, going to Venus, going to wherever, we still have a satellite that's way over there near Neptune playing a song on repeat, right? What if all these aliens we're seeing is just nothing more than our future selves?
There could be a lot of things.
I like thinking.
We think about that sometimes because everybody likes to try to leave the future stuff alone because we don't trust ourselves. I guess is the real worry. I work with 3 different groups that actually work with. Well, first one of them works with O parts, and O parts are just out of place parts, which means things we find buried in lava beds or things that shouldn't be there. Like a cog that was found 5.5 million years in the past. Nobody has any clue how it got there. There's been batteries found inside of geodeposits, things like that, and nobody really knows how they get there. So it suggests there's some type. And then a lot of people believe the Bermuda Triangle is just a form of time travel. It's jet you back or jet you forward or somewhere in between. So a lot of people feel that way, but time travel is a dangerous damn thing when you get into it. I mean, you can split all kind of split off realities. No telling what you can create just by visiting the wrong person at the wrong time of the day. It gets almost headache like when you start getting into it really deep. I mean, it's for humans, especially the humans at our developed level. It's something I don't think we can master. I just don't think we have the concept of understanding. I don't think it's not that we couldn't time travel if somebody gave us a technology. It's just, or if they couldn't time travel through sheer thought. But most humans just don't even understand what the hell they're seeing. It's just going to be too much for them to absorb. Clog their brain or something. I don't know. It's a tough one, but it's always an interesting thing to talk about. I got to tell you.
Well, we as people, we just experience time in a linear fashion. Mm-hmm. There's a start point. There's an end point. That's how we perceive it. Our clocks go on a constant circle. So we're
Jonathan, you're breaking up.
Something got him. Sound like something snatched you, man. What the hell? We just fixed this into PD for you, man.
So it's like what we're perceiving, we think we're moving forward. We could be moving side to side. We could be moving backwards. We could be moving diagonal. But the thing about the fifth dimension and the fourth dimension is time is completely relevant. It's spinning. It's going every direction. There's no way that you can possibly time travel without causing serious damage to a timeline, to yourself. If who knows what's on the opposite side of a black hole? All we know is the gravitational force that is being emitted from that black hole can disrupt time. And we've actually been able to document that for the first time as we were able to catalog an actual disturbance in the waves coming from this supermassive black hole that's actually in the Milky Way. So the black hole doesn't appear as a dot; it appears as a sphere because time in three-dimensional is a sphere. It's round. So how can there be a start and finish or a way through it if it's a sphere, if it appears as a planet all within itself? All we see is stuff coming into it, going into it, but not much coming out of it. Oh, who knows?
It'd be interesting to see, because I mean, I know recently we've been working on a lot of things, talking about different things, tachyons and different things we think might be able to travel fast speed of light, just so we could get something close enough to it. And by the way, they updated the size of the galaxy. It was 100,000 light years. I think it's 160,000 now. But so, I mean, it'd take us a while to get something there. But even at light speed, ladies and gentlemen, it'd still take 80,000 years to get there. But still, it would be nice here because, the closer it got, the more we would see. Because it's a supermassive black hole, and it's surrounded by a massive amount of stars that don't seem to be getting sucked into it. I don't know if it's now reached a point where there's a balance, that it's far and everything's far enough away that it's not sucking in, or if it just takes breaks. We have heard that black holes sometimes takes breaks. They'll stop eating for a while, go on a diet or something. I don't know. And then there's a couple of that recently said that, for lack of a better way of describing this, that they burp sometimes and release debris. Remember, I was always taught in school that nothing comes out of a black hole, nothing, not even light. I'm not sure if that's absolute gospel anymore. It's interesting to see, but that's the other thing. A lot of people do believe that black holes are simply on the other side. There'd be another galaxy over there, but instead of being a supermassive black hole, there'd be a supermassive, white or blue giant star instead of that. And a lot of people seem to think that when a black hole forms here, it forms a star in the galaxy. I mean, in another universe. Sorry, but still, if that's true, if you can cross over time and space like that, then you should be able to step around in time, or at least step into another universe that's running in a time frame that's shorter or longer than yours, which would still be the same as time travel, because you can witness it from, I guess, as an objective observer.
Maybe that black hole holds the secret for time travel.
It's going to be interesting.
We don't know.
We only got 1 billion years to find out, though, people.
Just 1 billion?
That's it, because after that, Andromeda's going to eat us. Sorry, go ahead.
Now would just be a great time to talk to Neil Tyson deGrasse.
Oh, I know. I've interviewed him about 4 times. Man, he is a great interview. I actually introduced the stepping stone theory to him, and it was interesting because it was a live show. So, and because of the title of the show, UFO on the Cover, he knew we were going to talk about UFOs. Even that would have really brought him there. Brought him there to talk about some recent science that was going on, but we got into it anyway. And then he said, "Well, I don't know about crossing distance." And I said, "Well, what about the stepping stone?" I said, "Look at it like this, Michio." I said, 100 years from now, we'll have a base on the moon. We'll have a platform out in zone L11, which is a launching spot between Mars and the moon. I said, we'll have a base on the moon. We'll already have at least 3 or 4 mining operations in the asteroid belt. I said, we'll have at least one base there. We'll have a base on either Titan or Europa, one of the moons around Jupiter and Mars. I said, then we'll have one out in the Oort cloud, and we'll have one out at the edge of our galaxy. And I said, and then the next step is, of course, 1 light year out, puts us 2.2, well, actually 1.1 light year from Proxima Centauri. So, by just using stepping stones, because you're going to be having people going back and coming back, you're going to be rotating crews. It's still going to take you 8 years to get there, but it's not going to be like that, because some of the crews will be being picked up from outposts far out. Some will be getting picked up from in. People will be moving around, shifting around, and it'll make it a very efficient way to go. And that's just in 8 light years. Well, back then, we were still talking about the galaxy was 100,000 light years across. So even at half light speed, we can explore the galaxy in 1 million years 5 times, in 100 million years, 500 times, and so on and so forth. So when you start talking about races that could be 500 million, 1 billion years old, even without light speed, they've probably crossed the cosmos hundreds of thousands of times. They've got bases, ports, and we don't have to be fast in light to travel. But this way, it allows us to get out there until such a point we either figure out how to move around through wormholes or faster than light or some other type of technology, or some alien race comes along and says, "Look, you dumb humans, let me show you how to do this, man. Y'all look like a bunch of idiots out here." Other than that, but it's going to be an interesting way to do it. But those kind of guys are always great to talk to. They really, truly are. It's interesting to hear them even discuss things done a paranormal area. It really is, because it's really not their forte or their cup of tea. It's, I mean, Michio's a theoretical physicist. Neil deGrasse Tyson's a very interesting man, but he's a curator at the museum and astronomer and a couple other things for that matter. I'll tell you who's interested. If you really want to talk about this, Jonathan, it's Dr. Paul Levitt. I probably pronounced his name right. He's the guy who came up with the cosmic pulse theory from the black hole in the galaxy. It's a very advanced theory, and it's turning out to look like a correct theory. He's got to think about the galaxy. About every 26,000 years lets off a pulse, like a burp, from the core itself, and it travels here. And everybody at first said, "Oh no, it's not possible." Now we found out that the actual particles are on the planet, and it seems between every 13 and 26,000 years they show up here. So it does seem that demand's correct. So it's interesting that someone here on Earth figured that out with the limited technology we have today. So then, man, look, 200 years from now, God knows what we're going to know. We might be time traveling by then. Hopefully not, but I think we need to mature a little bit before we start time traveling. Just saying. People
in the scheme of things, 100 years is not a long time.
It's nothing. It's a drop.
But look how far we've gotten since the 1920s.
Oh, I know. Just actually, I was talking about this yesterday on another show. In the last 20 years, or last 30 years, we've gone from not even a pager to everyone's got a handheld computer. And these things are getting more and more advanced now with all the new apps. You can check your heart rate, you can monitor yourself, you can do your banking, you can do whatever you want with the damn things pretty much. So I mean, just that alone is a major change. It transformed everybody's life. And then I'm not going to even get into the social media nightmare, but because social media, I don't want to hate on social media because it's a great tool. The internet and social media is the leveling field for the everyday person, because we can contact, interact, meet, and even get movements going without having to have hundreds or thousands or millions of dollars to get it going. And anything can go viral for any damn reason. So it's a great way to level the playing field against the ultra rich, ultra MK12 type of people who just want to keep as much of this in the dark as they can. Because I've talked to a lot of paranormal people over the year, and all of them seem to agree that somewhere, some place, locked up in some museum or warehouse somewhere, is all kind of interesting paraphernalia from paranormal type things, demon things, ghost things, alien things, you name it. It's probably locked up in there. And not just from recent times, going back much further in our past than we even like to think about. So who knows? They had that series, Warehouse 13. Maybe that's what they were talking about. It's a strange thing. I'm sending the aliens for both of y'all, though, so hang on. John is just like, oh, wait, leave me out of this, man. I don't want to get it. I want to kind of go back on the paranormal thing for a second, because somebody wrote in while we were talking, I had forgotten. They had asked me about, did either one of y'all have ever experienced a form, not personally a form of demonic possession, but someone else that either seemed like it or was faking it, or wait, hold on, let me clarify this. You go back and read it. Okay, basically what they wanted to know is, have either one of y'all ever met anybody who was either faking a demonic possession or had some type of real type of possession where you had to get them out of it, talk them out of it, maybe hypnotize them, or something along those lines? Or what you talking about, throwing holy water on them? That might burn people. Calm down here, throwing that holy water around. But anyway, I just seen it a little while ago, and I had forgot about it. I wanted to ask it before we closed out or anything.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
All right. In my experience, since I was a kid doing all this, I've seen a lot of people fake evidence, fake events, fake possessions, fake conversations, fake anything like that, just for the sake of attention.
Yeah. That doesn't even surprise me. There's some attention getting people out there.
So in the realm of demonic possession, look at how many shows are on TV right now that are demonic influenced. Think of the Tennessee Wraith Chasers show, Kane. Think of the name of it. It shows how much I care about it. Think of Ghost Adventures. Think of Ghost of Shepherdstown. Think of any new show. There's a very heavy influence on demonic investigating. And so people know this. People know, hey, if I talk about demon, I'll have a camera crew on my doorstep tomorrow morning. And most times they are correct. Now, in all my years of doing this, in the course of study, I have experienced maybe loosely one case where there may have been a dark spirit there. Was a demon? I don't know. I doubt it. But as far as possession goes, no, I have not seen one. I don't think I ever will. Because a possessed person has to exhibit certain characteristics, like knowledge of the unknown, strength that they wouldn't normally have, marks on their body that they can't put there themselves. I was told by Bishop James Long that the best movie to watch on demonic possession and exorcism is The Rite with Anthony Hopkins. And
I did see that show.
It's a good movie, but I think that's about all it is. It's just a movie. I've never ever seen anything like it with my own two eyes.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't see ghosts either, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. I've worked in the medical field in a mental hospital, and I've also come across people who, well, two in my whole 30 years of doing the paranormal, two that have said that they were possessed, and one of them, he exhibited a lot of those characteristics. But what I do, I'm not a demonologist. I don't claim to be an exorcist. All that, I don't do all that. What I do as a paranormal investigator is give people proof, either prove or disprove what they think they have in their home, by doing the research and what we do as investigators. So whenever I come across someone who thinks they are or feel they are, I put them off to somebody that handles that type of case. I don't get into it myself because a lot of paranormal investigators will take that case. And to me, that's dangerous, whether the person's mentally ill, whether they're possessed, whether something else is going on. If they even claim to be possessed or someone in their home be possessed, why would a paranormal investigator take that case? I don't understand, because I would never, because I'm not, in that type of thing. I don't know where the static's coming from. I'm getting a lot of static.
That's weird.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff going on with you tonight, Jonathan.
Hey,
Yeah.
I might be a magnet for tonight.
You are. But yeah, that's how I see it, But are we coming up on a break, Joe?
I don't know. We might just skip it.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
probably end about 10. We're
doing good.
Yeah,
and even with the alien thing, a lot of people don't believe, but a lot of people are claimed to be, abductees, and some have proven it, through hypnosis and things like that. So in my belief, just because I don't see things, or even if I don't believe something, doesn't mean it's not there, not true, not real. I keep an open mind about all of it. I don't want to experience possession because I have, bad enough temper already. I wouldn't want to be possessed. So, it's just a thing. There's a lot of unexplained things in the world.
Yeah, it gets freaky. All of the stuff we talk about. I know a couple people write in and said stuff about being scared and stuff. I was like,
Ain't need
you
to
know, a
be
lot.
scared.
Well, just one lady wrote and said, "I wouldn't go. You couldn't pay me money to go into anything that was haunted."
How would they know it's haunted or not?
Well, that's what she said. Actually,
Yeah.
it's Tabitha, and she said, just to put you all at ease, I only buy homes that I build new from the ground up. She said, I've never lived in anything that was had been owned previously by anybody else, car or home.
Well,
She
you
said, I've
don't
checked
know what
places.
was there in the
See,
1500s,
and that's true. You don't know what's on the land. Like down here in the South, there was a lot of areas that have now been, taken over by the bayou and the swamp and other things along those lines, and then people reclaim them. There's even graveyards down here that you'll start digging around and find a damn graveyard in the middle of nowhere.
That was my screen door, by the way.
Oh,
They,
okay.
as long as nothing's dragging you out the house, kicking and screaming, we okay, man. If I hear you start screaming, help, we'll get a little worried there. But because you never know what's going to go on in a library. I've had some weird stuff go on over the years.
But a lot of
anyway,
places we investigate, it's actually the land that's haunted, not the home that's built on top of it.
I know.
Right, Jonathan?
It could be, and it could also be the soil that has been built on top of. So it might not be the surface land itself.
Right.
Tabitha wanted to know if either one of y'all have ever been thrown out of a place. Tabitha, what do you mean by a ghost or by the people? Yeah, I know. That's all it said. I'm with you out on the.
We've been thrown out of graveyards and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's what you meant. She said, "Have y'all ever been run out of places or run off for doing investigations?" I think everybody has probably once or twice.
Well, yeah, it was actually one place in particular in St. Augustine. I'm not going to say the name, but they were claiming such immaculate activity. Well, I kind of debunked it all, and I told the owner. I was promptly asked to leave.
Oh, they don't like that, Jonathan.
Ooh, yeah, I bet you debunking don't go over real well with people who are selling it. I'm just saying.
Well, considering that this same place was on TV numerous times, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Mark wants to know. Mark's from New Orleans. He said he's a local, lives down around the Marigny. Said, has either one of y'all ever been in Nicolas Cage's old house where that woman was? I've heard about that, but I don't know anybody done an investigation on it.
They don't let us
Larry
in there.
Mansion the Larry Mansion is privately owned. It was formerly owned by Nicolas Cage and Johnny Depp. I don't know the current owner. I don't know who the current owner is. Don't know the name. Don't know nothing. They are not listed for contact. And if you go and knock on their door, they will politely tell you to not knock no more and don't come back. They even turned down American Horror. Yeah, they even turned down American Horror Story Coven because the current family wants nothing to do with the past of Madame Lalaurie. They don't want any of Cobb past that is rumored to have gone on in the Lalaurie Mansion. They want nothing to do with it. And some of the stories that come out of that estate, I can't say that I blame them. But how much do we know about the actual case itself? Because if you take a line of people and you tell one person a story, and you go to the first person in the line and wait for that story to come back to you, that story is going to change 5 or 6 times, if not more.
Yeah.
So how much of that story is actually true anymore? And the same is true as the Sultan's Palace, which is the Garde Bapret Mansion, or maybe I got it backwards. Either way. But the story in there, people were butchered from the inside of the estate. The doors were locked. The NOPD didn't find out what was going on until a lady walking by saw blood trickling out of the apartment. But again, how much of these stories have actually changed, been adapted, told, and read? So, investigating the Lalaurie Mansion is more like impossible. You can look at it, that's about it.
Yeah, now think on the ghost tours in New Orleans, they all tell their story and they vary, whatever tour you're on, the story's gonna change. So they'll let you look at the mansion, but they won't let you in the mansion.
Carol wants to know. Carol just wrote in and wanted to know, what did y'all consider to be the most haunted place in Louisiana? She lives in New Iberia. Hey, you upstate a little ways.
Hey, you 15 minutes away
Gotta
from
have
me.
that.
Yeah. Wait, was that again? I didn't hear you, Jonathan.
Most haunted place in Louisiana. Well, I'm gonna have to stick true to my roots here and say the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francis.
Myrtles is a good one. Yeah, Myrtles is a good one. Myrtles is a good one. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of haunted places. What do you think, Bernadine? What you think is the most haunted?
The most haunted that I've ever been in, I would say, would be the upstairs lounge in New Orleans, where 30 something people died in one room upstairs in the 70s. They it was the first gay club in New Orleans, and some people locked them in and doused them with alcohol and fire, and they had bars on the windows. And we did an actual investigation there, and we were filmed with ghost hunters in there, and it's still burnt at the top floor, where it all happened. So we actually got some very good EVPs and evidence from that area.
That's creepy.
And felt it.
Also,
oh yeah.
I mean, what is the city burned down? How many times New Orleans burned down? 3 times? I mean, it's got to be ghost on top of ghost down there.
Yeah, graves on top of graves down there.
Yeah, well, that's true. There are graves on top of graves down there.
And how much spirit got riled up with Hurricane Katrina.
Yes.
I know. Ronnie and Brittany are writing in. They're actually staying downtown. They're in for Mardi Gras, and they wanted to know what would be the most haunted cemetery in the area. I don't know, man. They're all haunted.
Into it. The best one, if you can get a tour guide that's willing to take you into it, is the St. Louis Cemetery. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Diocese of New Orleans has kind of put a ban on that. I could be mistaken, but I have yet to get clearance together.
Yeah, and you have to have a tour guide to go into the cemeteries.
Yeah, I guess they just don't want no stray people roaming around, huh? With cameras and stuff. Hey, look, when I used to go down to the cemeteries when I was a kid, there was always skulls hanging out and hands hanging out and all kind of crap. Oh. I mean, half those crypts were open and stuff. They've cleaned it up since then, but
don't they lock them at a certain time of night now?
That's what they say. Yeah, they did that because everybody started stealing the monuments.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's true for all cemeteries in the major New Orleans area. Is every cemetery is padlocked.
And by the way, Brittany, if you be careful roaming around the cemeteries late at night, because some of them are not in the best neighborhoods in New Orleans. Right. So be careful. Just be aware of your surroundings. All I'm telling you, and it ain't the
especially during Mardi Gras. Yeah.
So be careful.
Now there is one apartment that people can go to. Bloody Mary owns it. It's the apartment that was home to a very brutal murder-suicide.
The Zach and Addie.
Yes. I don't know if it's available to investigate. I know a couple of friends of mine who were able to go there for an investigation sponsored by a Bloody Mary. So the best thing you can do is go to her shop. It's actually above her shop, if I'm not mistaken. It's on Rampart, I believe.
Hell, I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good paranormal spots in New Orleans, but they're owned by private agencies, private companies, very private people.
I'm glad you said. Somebody just posted in about the haunted mortuary. Is it a good place to go?
The mortuary.
You know what? I don't. The one on Canal. I don't.
Maybe during Halloween.
I don't know. I did know originally they told me they used to be able to go there, and they had some rooms. You could rent 2 rooms and set up your cameras. And now, from what I understand, you can still rent the rooms, but they got all the cameras and equipment set up. But I've never been in the place, so I don't want to say either way. I just don't
The
know.
mortuary is a scare house that's ran in September and October. And my last conversation with the owner, he does allow people to come in and do investigations as long as it's during the off season.
Well, that does make sense, yeah.
But I don't know how much it costs, and I think it's tour groups and stuff like that.
Mm. Oh, now they wanted to know if there's any. Wait. I'm sorry. Well, if Aline was here, she could probably answer this. Somebody was just writing in. Stephanie Reese is writing in. She lives in Madisonville, and she wanted to know if there was anything haunted right there in the North Shore in St. Tammany Parish that she could go visit. I don't know anything over there. So I lived over there, but I don't know anything haunted over there. Everything's kind of new. I've never really heard anything haunted over there. Celine, where are you when we need you, baby? I ain't never heard nothing haunted. New Orleans, Slidell, I've actually heard of some stuff. Baton Rouge, all the bayou areas all along the river. I mean, pretty much all the old parishes you hear about stuff, but I really don't remember hearing anything about the North Shore. I mean, at least that area anyway. I don't know. Sorry, we can't help you there. It's, but New Orleans right across the bridge. This one too. I want to get this one. Yeah, we still got a few minutes. Where did it go? Michael's writing in from Biloxi, Mississippi, and wanted to know if how haunted this Beauvoir Manor. I had to put that down.
The Beauvoir is one of the most active places I have investigated in Mississippi, if not in my entire paranormal career. I've investigated there probably 6 to 8 times by now, and each time I go, it's something different. What about you, Bernadine?
Well, I've been there, the last 3 years, and we've always gotten some good evidence. Yeah.
That's it. I'm going this year. I'm going to teach the ghosts how to say, Bernadine, come here, Bernadine. Come see me, Bernadine.
One of the coolest pieces of evidence that I got out of the Beauvoir was we were in the Hayes Cottage, and I addressed President Jefferson Davis, and I asked him, how do you feel about your statues being torn down in New Orleans? How do you feel about people supplanting your name? Do you actually know that you've died? And we got on video a voice coming through and saying, what are you talking about? I'm not dead.
That's it. I'm glad you said that too. I got something else for you I wanted to ask you. So, we've talked about this in the past, and so you get these disembodied voices sometimes, or you get these messages or things. Now, how do we know that it's from a dead person, or how do we know if it could be like dimensional bleed through that person in another dimension that's still alive? So I'm just curious because I don't know. That's why I'm asking. So it's one of the things I have no idea about.
I don't think any of us really know the answer to that. I think that's why we're paranormal investigators, because we are in search of the truth.
And there's a lot of truth to be had.
Now, that's actually the premise of the occult as well. Occult means literally in search of the hidden truth. And a lot of people, when they hear the word occult, they think demon, demonic, devil, stuff like that. But the occult, quite literally, people practice it every single day of the week. You practice a form of the occult when you're looking at ufology, when you're looking at demonology, when you're investigating the paranormal. Just doing yoga and looking at your zodiac sign is a form of the occult. If you've ever mixed herbs for tea, if you have practiced any form of medicine, you've practiced alchemy. I mean, the occult is very, very broad. And that's actually a new book that I'm writing, and shaping up to be about a 500-page book on everything that I can cram into 500 pages about the occult.
So how many books do you have out now?
Currently, I just have the one, Paranormal Exposed. You can go to darkmoonpress.com and search my name, and you can buy it straight from there. You can also check it out on barnesandnoble.com as well as Amazon.
And you have a new one you're working on, right?
Yes, I have the occult book that I'm currently working on. That's proving to be very, very difficult to write.
Any Facebook? I know we're getting close to the top of the hour here, so we got about 3 minutes. But plug away, man. Any way they can get hold to you? Anything? Any contacts? Any personal Facebook?
People can look for me on Facebook. I've got a community page as well as my personal page. Either one, you can get in contact with me on that. I actually have my personal number on my personal page. So if people need help or anything, that they can just directly go to my profile and give me a call. I've also got my email address. So if anybody needs to email me, my email is jon.mccoy1989@gmail.com. So any questions you have, I'm more than happy to help you out with.
People, don't hesitate. Get out there if you got some weirdness going on and write in, baby. Contact. Look, I encourage people to contact you, get involved. Besides, I like to see people get involved. I say this all the time, get involved. Somehow get involved. If you're listening to this show, you probably need to get involved in some shape, form, or fashion. Really, if you've had enough interest to sit with us for 2 hours and listen tonight, you've got an interest. You should get involved somewhere.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, because we've been there. We have answers. I mean, we might not have the perfect answers, but we have what we know, our wisdom.
Absolutely. Now, I've also got one more plug to throw in before I hop off here. If you're actually in search of quality fangs that look identical to your regular teeth that just clip on in, you can look up Maven Lord Scalzi on Facebook. He is a custom fangsmith and arguably one of the best in the world. He can do you a single set, he can do you a double set, or he can do you a full 4 set. So you have tops and the bottom, the full 9 yards.
I think I would look sexy with a pair of fangs, man. I might as well get me a pair. Yeah. I'm not kidding. I think I would look sexy with them damn things.
People can actually go to Boutique du Vampire off of St. Anne, and you can book them through Boutique du Vampire.
Awesome.
Why is all the demonic weird stuff on St. Anne? That's where the sisterhood used to be too, is on St. Anne. Just saying. Something about St. Anne, y'all.
I think you also got the Carter brothers that are either on the corner of St. Anne and Royal or something like that too. Yeah.
And then where's the other witchcraft shop? It's right there somewhere too. It's right around there.
You got them.
I can't. There was a couple of things down there. I was just trying to think of the Covenant though. Nah, I can't think of their names right now. But
you got Marie Laveau's. That's right next to Boutique du Vampire. You got Rev Zombies. I mean, for if we had a few bucks for every pagan and new age shop in the French Quarter, we rich.
I know, and they got a lot of them. They used to not, but they made a good comeback, and and there's a lot of readers in there. A lot of people doing tarot down there and all kind of other stuff you can get into. I know they've gotten a little stricter around the church about it, but still, they let everybody come out and read. And ladies and gentlemen, you can get your cards read just roaming around Jackson Square on most days. There's usually somebody out there, but there's a lot of more famous ones that are actually down there. A couple of professionals that do for famous people, but those usually cost a good bit. I'll just warn you ahead of time. And then I don't know if the bottom of the teacup is still there. It was right there. Damn, is that Iberville, Bienville? Damn, I can't remember which street it was now. It's right not far from where the courthouse is, but. They were there. They had been there for 50 years when I found out about them. They've been around a long, long time. And then, we got one more question. We're going to get out of here. Arthur wants to know, is it true that Antoine's is Lestat? Because all the Antoine pictures look the same in the hallways. that's an Anne Rice thing. I'm not familiar on that one. There was a thing Anne Rice said that Lestat the Vampire was actually Antoine from Antoine's, because there's a gallery that's got like the last 100 years of people who, run the restaurant, and they just all happen to look alike. And so he was saying he just changed his name every so often and just kept the place. I was like, yeah, okay, let's not get any more rumors going than we need to.
And Anne Rice either used to live in the French Quarter or still does, and Interview with the Vampire was basically based out of New Orleans. So yeah, I'd say it's a very safe assumption.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. I think she spends more time in San Francisco now, but New Orleans is either her first or second home. Hell, she's the only woman ever know which fight with Al Copeland. I think she won at that. So, I think Al thought his fame was better than Ann's, and he found that that wasn't quite true. But hey, that's how it goes.
Well, if people definitely want to see what we do in the vampire community, we do have some parties that we got coming up, and we also have the Bloodlust Vampire Ball that is taking place Halloween weekend. So I'm not sure when the tickets are going up for that one. But everybody is more than welcome to buy a ticket and come on out and see how we get down.
Well, that sounds interesting to me. Well, this year I was telling this to some friends this past Halloween. I think I'm going to spend more time this year because Halloween's one of my favorite holidays. I've actually quit jobs over Halloween when I was younger. It is one of my favorite holidays, and there's so much stuff that goes on in New Orleans for 5 days up to Halloween. It's just, I mean, really, if you get the time, and I'm going to make the time this year, I'm just going to go to all of it. I'm going to go as myself and as press so I can have double fun because, the press makes people nervous. Makes them do goofy things sometimes. Well, I'm not that, but I'm not an evil kind of press. So, and I'm pretty honest for the most part. But I just like to see people in their environment. I like to see them doing what they're doing and for the reasons they're doing it. Because sometimes
maybe we can go and visit Jonathan this Halloween.
That's right. We'll come see you, Jonathan. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, that could be scary.
Looking forward to it.
It sounds good, though. I know we got to get out of here because coming up next is Quantum Leap with Kathy Belsky. So we got to get everybody give Aline some sugar. She's I hear your alarm. Everybody give Aline some sugar so she's feeling better.
Aline apologizes, Jonathan, that she couldn't be here.
Yeah,
it's all right. Your health is way more important.
But I sound sexier than she does anyway. So, and look, I got a nice, pretty ponytail. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
It's I just had it out. I had it up tonight, but we'll put it out. No, Aline, I'm just kidding, baby. Don't hurt me. I'm just teasing that. Don't hurt me.
It's all with love.
Anyway, we're gonna get out of here. Y'all been listening to Supernatural Substation, usually with Bernadine and Aline. I just been sitting in tonight, having fun, learning stuff as we've been going. Jonathan, thanks for chatting with me, man.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I'm always willing to learn something new. But again, coming up next, Kathy Belsky with Quantum Leap. Stay tuned. She'll be here in about 10 minutes, guys. Enjoy y'all's lives. And if you're in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, be safe, be responsible. And if you're a tourist, find a reliable local. Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Night, night.
Come visit us in the quarter.
That's right. Come visit the quarter. I'm with you on that.
When Raising Cane's fans are happy, we're happy. Like Kelly.
Need Raising Cane's. The sauce beckons me. The toast sings a siren song.
Give in, Kelly. Give in. Let's hear from Mary B.
Is it crazy to have a dream about swimming in cane sauce?
Hey, whatever floats your chicken finger boat. Thanks for the shout-out, Caniacs. You're making us blush with your love for our cook-to-order, hand-battered chicken fingers, hand-squeezed lemonade, fries, Texas toast, and cane sauce. Keep that love coming. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
If you're thinking about upgrading to a riding mower, make a path to the Home Depot. Right now, the Pull & Pro 42-inch model is just $11.39. Its 19 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine will power through even the thickest grass, and its rugged reinforced steel cutting deck with 10-year warranty will keep you going and mowing for a very long time. The Pull & Pro 42-inch riding mower, just $11.39, now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only.